Vietnam. Before going to Ho Chi Minh City, she was a former trainer and lecturer at De La Salle University in Manila, Philippines. She's an active learning consultant, workshop facilitator, a bootcamp training organizer. So without further delay, I give you Miss Maria Vitra Belida.
Hello, Aji. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Thank you, Mr. An, for the introduction. And thank you for attending our session this afternoon. I'm happy and delighted to have your online presence. I will share my desktop at this point. Uh, Aji, can you? Okay, that's it. Okay. So I'll share my desktop. Before we start, I would like to just share with you our website right now. I would like to encourage you to come to the site, visit our site. In the site, you will find the references that we have for the webinars. And there's also going to be links to the past courses and for your examiner here, you will find the reference materials and you can download them. Aji, I'm having some echo. Is that okay? So, I also would like to request the participants to turn on your video so we can see your beautiful faces. Okay. Please turn on your video. So, we will start now. Our webinar today is entitled Open Teaching and Personal Learning Networks for Increased Student Engagement. Student learning is the mantra, or should we say, the battle cry of most higher education institutions. Most colleges and universities have experimented combining different formats of participation to ensure that the classroom is still the central setting of knowledge creation. Archie, can you make sure that the other microphones are muted? Okay. So, continuing, oftentimes, most classroom instructors or lecturers find students preoccupied on the use of technology, even inside the classroom. Why? Because students find the classroom activities to be passive or all centered to the lecturer or the professor. Of course, there are many debates on this matter. Some professors would claim that use of technology inside the classroom is a big distraction. Student engagement is not an easy task. It is not just a matter of permitting students to do whatever they want to do. It is also a matter of listening, respecting their ideas, and having these ideas recognized, regardless of how valid they may or may not be. So this webinar provides an alternative teaching strategy to higher education institutions, how to engage students intelligently, even while they cling to their technologies as their learning comfort zone. So, what is open teaching? Open teaching was based on an experiment conducted by Alan Kuros of University of Regina in Canada. For Kuros, open teaching is described as the facilitation of learning experiences that are open, transparent, collaborative, and social. It also emphasizes the support to the critical consumption of knowledge through the shared development of personal learning networks. So what I will share with you is my replication and delivery of the open teaching method. When I was in the university, I did a lot of research on personal learning networks, as well as I conducted open teaching. On one occasion, it was with a class of instructional design students. So how do we plan an open teaching course delivery? Planning open teaching is creating a structure of class dialogues that will become the rich source of active interactions. It also starts in the classroom but moves to different social channels, and it shows there is the interplay of mindful responses or reactions to the topics or to the activities. So how does it work? It's like this. Okay, so in your syllabus, try to identify already what are the important topics. And you're going to use these important topics as the springboard of creating different kinds of dialogues. So for example, you have selected the first important idea or important topic for the week. Create class dialogues. Let the students expand the idea. The idea could become idea 1 or idea 2, idea 3, idea 4, idea 5. Some would even challenge this idea. And so if you notice, the movement of one topic could explode or lead to several conversations, several ideas, and it could expand more. So when you proceed to the other topics, that's how you will also do it. Okay? So for the next topic, create another discussion for that. And when you do that, of course, you don't limit the students in one sitting to do the exchanges of the discussion. This is where we create what we call a rhizome fashion of interaction. Another opportunity that you could look at is when you are giving the project for the semester. So you, instead of prescribing what project to make, what you can do is give the criteria and let your students negotiate and propose what they want to accomplish. So in this way, we are also expanding the class dialogue. So as I mentioned, there's going to be different kinds of reactions. Some students are not used to that, and some would be happy to have negotiations about what they want to do. And there is likely a strong success rate to accomplish the project because they are the ones choosing their own projects. So don't stop the exchanges in one sitting, okay? So allow more conversations to happen in the different important topics that you have. The expand idea, if you notice, in our structure can become bigger or can produce other related discussions. This kind of movement is called a rhizome. It is composed of nodes and lines, and the nodes can become hubs of more intellectual exchanges. So here are the steps. Carefully plan an open teaching course delivery. Explore, create a rhizome structure of participation. So all the discussions will start in the classroom, okay? But, okay, find a way for students to respond and to react and to give their ideas anytime and anywhere. Most social technologies or social networks support a rhizome structure. So choose the social technologies that work for you. Now, in creating a rhizome structure, okay, so there's the rhizome. So that's how it will look like. It's not chaotic, but it's actually
more of creating more strong lines of discussion. Some could become weak if no discussion will go on further. Include the use of social tools and platforms as part of your dialogue exchanges. The social tools and platforms will create opportunities for a rising fashion of interaction, and students would be willing to participate because they are familiar with the tools that you are using. In my case, I have used WordPress, Tumblr, Twitter, and MindMeister. Why WordPress? Because I've been a blogger for a few occasions already. I have used blogger.com as well. But there are many available tools. There is Facebook group, Blogger, YouTube, or Google Hangouts for live meetings or live stream. It is very necessary to have good planning. The use of the social applications must not be an afterthought. It should not be like, oh, today we will use Facebook group and we will have a discussion on Facebook group. I don't advise that. The social application has its own strength and you have to match it to your activity discussion. At the same time, it is advisable to include it in your syllabus. You cannot expect all your students to use the same tools that you use. So ideally, deliberately write them already in your syllabus so that the students would know right away and they could prepare because they have to register to the social applications. The next item is use a blog to extend your discussions of a topic. Instead of, for example, using slides, echo your discussion and ideas in a blog. Even after explaining a specific topic or you had discussions in the class, allow the students to reflect on it and give their voluntary opinions through the blog. So if you notice here, I have an example of an old blog that I have. On the right, we have 10 comments, and then the other one, 15 comments. So on the left, we have the link to the topic. I'll just show you, okay, what I have written in the past. And if you notice here, I have about a 5-minute read of article, okay, and I have the reference, and then here, if you notice, there are 15 responses, okay, on the topic, bringing teachers' digital literacy to a competency level. And if you look at each of the responses are very generous. So some students can be really highly opinionated online, or it's also a good observation that there's no restriction on how they express themselves, and it may be very well informal, but at that time this would show the reflections that they have. Okay. So I go back. Okay. So blogging is actually writing and expressing one's thoughts in a reflective and independent thinking. Blogging, reading, and responding to blogs develop critical thinking. You can use a WordPress or Blogger or your own blog resource in your university learning management system. Both WordPress and Blogger are free cloud-based solutions. It is accessible anytime, anywhere. Okay? So the next is use a microblog to be the venue for student reflections. You don't need to make it complicated. If, for example, there are 14 weeks in a semester, ask the student to make 14 postings or 14 short reflections at the end of the week or the end of the chapter. The students are not restricted on how much explanation or reflection they would want to share. For example, in my case, I have used Tumblr.com, which is very good for microblogging. So what is microblogging? What is the difference between blogging and microblogging? Blogging would really equate to writing 3 paragraphs, 5 paragraphs. Microblogging, on the other hand, allows an individual to post snippets of ideas in text and picture, or just pictures or videos. Okay? So I will show you some examples. On your right, you see the example of a blog, right? The blog of my former students. In my case, this is the blog that I have created, Musings on Education. And what I did, the 14 postings that I required to my students, I also did it, okay? So for example here, every good teacher has a desire and method of curating excellent student work. So every week, I also make a posting. And sometimes, you know, like this one, I get also remarks from another student or another person, particularly on the topic that we have. Okay. And here is the example of some of the blogs of my former students. So all the materials that they have, you can find it here. And the students have the flexibility to create their own blog, I mean their own microblog, put the materials they want to uh, share in the group, because this list is actually shared to everyone. And there's creativity in all the examples that they put, okay? And then in my case, as I mentioned earlier, okay, if I click here, what I did is I put all the listings or all the microblogs, Tumblr blogs of my students, so it's easier for me to access each of them and for my students to also access them, okay? So I'll just go back again to my PowerPoint. Okay. Now, the third item is creating a personal learning network. So what is a personal learning network? It is a blueprint of a student's preferred learning connections and learning support tools. It is a good method to assess the learning actions of the student, whether she has a balanced social and academic interest, or academic and personal interests, or gives priority to social connections rather than technology tools. Having many social interests would mean having many person or group interactions face-to-face or online. Having academic or professional interests would pertain to the studies or enhancement of professional skills. Personal interests could be focused on self-development like sports, music, or hobbies, like reading or watching movies. A personal learning network is a snapshot of the interests and priorities of a person at a given time. This can also be applied to teachers, because I have done this with the teachers. So here's the first example. If you look at this personal learning network, at a given time, the person would have 5 major interests. There's hobbies and inclinations, focus on visual design, music, and dance. So the person is pretty much into using uh, how-to lecture videos and then YouTube videos. She's also using Deviant Art site, Tumblr and online magazines, and then projects via portfolios. She's also pretty much interested on entertainment and online sites, as well as she makes use of, or the person makes use of, many type of communication tools. In terms of academic, the interest would be on computer science. And if you notice, the person is also into, of course, the website, and then there is the Facebook groups. But more than that, the person is into YouTube tutorials, ebooks, PDF, code sources, and even W3 Schools, which is actually an open educational resource site. And then general information and news. Okay, the person is also pretty much into 9gag, OMG facts, TV video segments, and online news. So this example would show the person is a bit dynamic and more, relying heavily on technology tools. There's so much interest on other things, personal interest rather than the academics or the career. Another example that we have here, if you notice, okay, with this person at a given time, I think her name is Kai, she has 2468, okay, interests at a given time. Social network connections would be her family and friends in Facebook, high school friends, college friends, and then church mates. Books, she likes Nicholas Sparks' website, Apple Store, and of course books recommended by, again, family and friends who are also book lovers. And then she relies on Rotten Tomatoes for the movies, which is a popular site. There's travel as one of her interests. Blogging and music are also her interests. And then on the upper right, there are two point of interest, which is on information technology. So there are professors that she follows, blogs of people in the IT field, professionals that she encounters in her on-the-job training, people from Red Cross, Yahoo groups, etc. So if we are going to assess her personal learning network, it would show that the person is pretty much into social connections. She likes having a lot of encounter face-to-face and online with the person or person groups, family, and friends. Compared to the other one, which actually focuses on a lot of the tools, actually, right? Okay. So let's continue. Okay. So here is a set of simple steps how to draw your personal learning network. Identify your major learning interests or engagements, online or offline, formal or informal. Make them your major nodes or links. What you see on screen is an example of my old personal learning network. So there is e-learning, social media, disaster management, and then there's also teaching profession, Twitter connections, and travel interests. At some point, there are overlaps. It happens. Once you're able to become aware of the overlaps and you're able to manage also your interests, it will work well for you. There are many tools that you can use when it comes to creating a personal learning network. There is MindMeister, there is Mindomo, Glippy, but a paper and a pencil would also do. So it's okay if you want to use a paper and a pencil. Okay. Moving on. Okay. So permit students to define and propose their own projects. Instead of dictating what projects they have to do, make the projects open and negotiated. Somehow, I think I mentioned it earlier, right? Establish a set of criteria that adheres to your course design. Based on that, let your students in pairs or groups to develop their ideas or select the type of project more suitable for them. And then implement a live, real-time online discussion. The discussion must be focused on a specific topic. You may also use to, hold an asynchronous discussion. If you cannot guarantee that you would be online and you're very much dependent on the online connection, then you may want asynchronous. In my case, that time what I did, I used Twitter for a real-time online discussion because I have already the venue for the reflection, which is the Tumblr, and then I also have the blog for more or extended conversations. Okay. So for instance, I use Twitter for a whole Saturday. So not just 1 hour, for a whole day, okay, to have real-time conversations on a topic. So how can they find our discussions? I use unique hashtags. For example, I use hashtag July 23 conversation. So any student who would reply to a question or would like to give a reaction, simply has to affix the said hashtag July 23 conversations. On your screen, this is an old discussion that I had back in 2013. On your left, you see the first uh, item. Our topic tonight is still focused on building customer relationships. Hashtag CRM and hashtag CRELMGT, which is Customer Relationship Management, which is the acronym for the course. But the emphasis tonight would be how do you cook a good chemistry with your customer, still on strategies. And if you notice on the second line, there were 16 responses. So the student can just freely reply, and after they reply, they can also get replies from other classmates or replies from other people participating in the conversation, and maybe a reply from me. With Twitter, what happens is that some students who are not part of the class would sometimes ask permission to join. Usually, I still hold some simple decorum on how to start. So there's an opening and the closing. On the right are examples of some of the replies of the students. Some could be informal, but what is important here is that students are able to express their ideas. They generate idea 1, remember idea 1, idea 2, idea 3, expand that, and then sometimes what I do, I challenge or question the idea so that they would think more. Okay? And here are more examples. On the right, lower, at the bottom, okay, you will find here, okay, shall we wrap up, beautiful people of CREL management? Never forget technology that empowers CRM to create good chemistry with customers. As you know, in Twitter, the latest post will be on the top. So I ended up saying good night, okay, and then see you in the game tomorrow. One student again replied, thank you, miss. It's a nice discussion. And somebody even like it, okay? So they can also like a particular comment. But of course, Twitter in Vietnam is not very popular. But I think in the Philippines or in Indonesia, it's going to be, I mean, it's popular. And it's being used actually to engage with students. And you don't have to use always English. I mean, you can always use the local language, which is actually very practical. Okay. So, are you open to try it out? The open teaching? As I mentioned, don't get overwhelmed with the social tools. That's why it's called tools. I mean, it will help you. Choose the topics that you think will give more opportunities for your students to cultivate cognitive thinking, draw more critical questioning and responses, and encourage the practice of reflection. So here are some of the take-home ideas. Planning opportunities for interactions, especially intelligent interactions, must be a conscious effort, and there are many technologies that could support this intention. Open teaching strategy can produce healthy exchanges of ideas and opinions that would not regularly happen in the classroom. Open teaching in a rhizome structure means designing an interplay of activities that empower student agency and allowing them to articulate their own thoughts, even using digital media they are comfortable to handle. The use of social technologies pretty much supports the self-expression of the students as well as the rhizome structure of interaction. So open teaching is a flexible strategy that leads to active learning. Student engagement in this situation would become a shared cooperation between the teacher and the student. Student expression is voluntary and organic. It's not always, oh, you give me one answer and I'll give you 1 point. And the students feel very comfortable because they face the social tools and applications that they also use. Another take-home idea is that the personal learning network provides a way for a student or the individual to discover her own interests, what she is doing about her own interests, how she develops herself, whether through social connections or through technology tools, how passionate she is on what she is doing, and the personal learning network becomes a springboard on how much she wants to become excellent. So, I hope you enjoyed this webinar. Please leave a happy face in the chat box if you like this webinar, and feel free to give your questions and reactions too in the chat box. All the references are in the site, the materials, the published papers on open teaching and the personal learning networks would be there, as well as the slides. We will also have a supplementary video, something like what I have discussed, but in a shorter version, unlike this one. Okay? So, uh, any questions from our attendees? Any reactions? Okay. Mhm. I think some people left already. So I think this concludes and this ends the webinar. I hope you would watch out our other schedules, because next month we will be offering a session on open educational resources. Thank you very much. Thank you, Simulek. Thank you so much. Okay. So how do we exit? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Yes, Jingle, do you have a question? Or she has a question. Anyway. Oh, that's a smiley. Okay. So Aji, thank you very much for the support today.
You're welcome.
Okay. Okay. I think we're adjourned. Jingle, feel free to email me if you have other questions, okay? Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye, Aji.
Yeah, bye. Have a good day.
Okay.